Thank you for joining us. I don't know if this is on. Can you hear me okay? Before I call this meeting to order, I'll note for the record, excuse me, we're going to get started. Note for the record that I'll serve as acting chair for today's meeting. I now call to order the meeting of the directors of the New York State Urban Development Corporation doing business as Empire State Development for Thursday, December 21st, 2017. As noted on the agenda posted to the internet, we welcome public comment on the items on our agenda to ensure maximum opportunity for participation. Speakers representing themselves may speak for up to 2 minutes each, and those representing groups may speak for up to 4 minutes with one speaker per group. Speakers' comments may only address the items considered at today's meeting. At this time, I'll ask the directors whether anyone has any potential conflict of interest with respect to any of the items on the agenda. As always, the directors have received the written materials in advance of today's meetings and are free to ask questions at any time. The first item on today's meeting is the approval of the minutes from November 16th, 2017. Any questions, comments, additions, or deletions with respect to the minutes? Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Great. Pravina, welcome back. Where is Pravina? Oh, there she is. Who will make? She's going to introduce Matt Watson, who has NYSTAR, and Matt will have a presentation to the board today.
Good morning. I'm excited to be with you here again. If you don't remember, I was here in October doing the Division of Small Business, and I talked about technology development. I do not have a cake, so I just want to preface that, so not everybody. But we have other goodies, as I can see out on the table. Just a really quick recap. We had talked about Division of Small Business. We use third parties to provide our assistance, and we talked about financial, technical, and procurement. And today we're going to talk about the technology assistance, which has gone through our NYSTAR division. And Matt here runs the NYSTAR division, and he is going to take you through all the wonderful little things that you see. You have little gadgets in front of you about how we actually help technology company and innovation in the state of New York. But not only if you think about big tech like advanced manufacturing, life science, but also even just thinking about a wrapper. How do we make it more efficient? How do we get it to be cost efficient? How do we use different materials? So from everything from little tiny products to big products, that's what we do with this division through lots of partners. So I'm going to turn it over to Matt. And next time I come, I'll promise to bring more goodies.
Thanks, Pravina. Sure. That's right, Liz. Knocking everybody over. Thank you, Howard. Thank you, board. Oh, I got to turn my mic on, I believe. Is that on? Off? Now it's on? Oh, there we go. All right. So thank you for having me today. As Pravina said, I'm the director of the Division of Science, Technology, and Innovation, which is within the Small Business and Technology Division. So we used to be our standalone public authority. We were merged into ESD and became, just last year, the part of the Small Business Technology Development Group. Currently, we're a staff of 4 with a 5th person coming online shortly, hopefully. Our goals are really to create jobs through advancing technology, providing access to solutions, and supporting the innovation economy in general. We do that through more than $50 million a year we receive from in state and federal funding. We take that funding and we work with or fund over 70 centers across the state to provide services and assistance to companies. Some of those programs include the Centers of Excellence and the Centers for Advanced Technology. Combined, we have 27 university research centers that provide applied research assistance to companies. That is, applied meaning that the technology is being used for commercial purposes. So these centers can help a company with prototype assistance, with readiness for manufacturing, with developing new products, new processes, or new companies. We also manage the Manufacturing Extension Partnership Program. This is actually a national program funded by the Department of Commerce. Much like us, Department of Commerce has a division within it called NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology, Manufacturing Extension Partnership. That's the MEP part. So we are the designated center for New York State, and with the funding we receive from feds, we have designated and fund 11 centers across the state to provide services to improve the competitiveness of manufacturers and help them grow. Under the relatively new Innovation Hotspot and New York State Certified Business Incubator Program, we have 30 designated centers that help emerging companies or early stage companies improve their chances of success. Services through that would include mentorship, space, preparation for venture funding, prototype assistance, things of that nature. Entering the third year of the program, we have digital gaming hubs. This is, we have 3 hubs across the state that are really charged with growing the digital gaming hub ecosystem in their area and across the state. Just last year, RIT had the first ever university published Xbox game. So that's early success, and we're looking forward to more successes through that program. Other programs that I'll touch on briefly are the New York State Science and Tech Law Center, which is currently housed at Syracuse University. The goal of that program is to help emerging companies with IP challenges or intellectual property challenges. They will help a company take a look at the competitive landscape and other legal challenges that a early stage company may have. They help through, they match companies with law students, and that is overseen by the director and his staff. Another program we have is the New York State Matching Grants Program. This is a pot of money that universities or research entities can apply for a matching commitment from us to strengthen their proposal to the federal government. By doing that, it shows that the state is committed to the technology that they're applying to really house at their center and further provide assistance to companies. So through this program, we've really been able to extend our technology reach. So we have a lot more centers in our portfolio because of this funding. And then finally,
Would be an example of an organization that got funding?
sure. So our RPI has a lighting center that we have been funded through that program because they've gone through their second tranche. They had to reapply to, I believe it's NSF, and we matched their funds, and now our funding helps them work with companies. So we can offset some of the companies that they work with. So one of the companies I'm talking about later today, it actually got assistance from RPI's Lighting Center. Cornell has a materials center that we also help through matching grant funds. They use our funding to actually run a jumpstart program where they take our funding and give it to a company. The company has to put up a third. Our funding is a third of the cost, and then Cornell kicks in a third of the cost. And it's really to identify or address material challenges a company might have. So those are a couple of examples of centers we've supported.
So you don't make assistance directly to private companies
Not-
yourself?
Typically, no. You may recall, and I'm going to touch on this a little later too, you may recall in August, I was before you, under 2 different grants that we received, that we are managing through UDC to provide direct to companies. And I'll touch on that in a little bit.
That is photonics an example where the state and the federal government also kind of match funding in order to advance the AIM Photonics in Rochester?
Exactly. That was not specifically through this program because it's a little bit on the larger side, but it's exactly the same scenario. All right. Any other questions on matching grants? All right. High performance computing. This is actually a consortium of about 6 or 7 universities and private entities across the state, which really enable companies to access expertise on simulation and big data. So government funding is critical to innovation. It really keeps the U.S. competitive globally. Examples of federally funded innovation include GPS, which was funded by the Department of Defense, Google. I don't know, my wife is a computer science major, and in the early days of the internet, you actually had a phone book of all the different web addresses that you had to type in the numbers to find where you had to go. It was painful. It was hard to find what you're looking for. So Google came along and really helped make it a lot easier to get to the sites you were looking for, and that's really what helped with the explosion of the internet. Touch screens at NSF and CIA funded research project. Tesla had their battery technologies and solar panels funded by the Department of Energy. I think you all see the iRobot commercials about the little vacuums that run around and clean your house. That was actually technology funded to go find roadside bombs, so to better protect our soldiers.
And don't forget the government funded the, Transcontinental Railroad too.
Right, yeah.
In that day, that was technology.
So if you look at that short list, and you yeah, you look at that short list, and Apple took 2 or 3 of those up there alone, and they added Corning's Gorilla Glass, which is a product they have on the iPhone, and those discoveries are really what helped Apple develop and roll out the iPhone. So these are all disruptive technologies that had made a huge impact on the U.S. economy. So some of the government funding that we use to further assist companies with innovation, because it's not just about the discovery, it's about helping the companies find the assistance they need, helping them get, there's a bit of hand-holding that goes on, so we assist them in trying to get to where they need to be to make sure they're more successful. So we have a Department of Defense grant that we manage, 1.5 million, and that's what I was referring to just a minute ago. Part of that money goes to companies to help them diversify. So companies can apply with a project where they'll be diversifying or looking for new markets that are non-U.S. Department of Defense related in an effort to make sure that if defense spending goes down, that they don't go out of business. We want to make sure they're around for when things ramp up, so the Department of Defense has them in their supply chain still. Just recently, the Department of Defense approached us and asked us to expand that program and start helping companies with cybersecurity efforts as well. So we're writing up a proposal to expand that grant, and we'll likely see a little more money under that. MilTech is an Air Force program. The Air Force will license technologies to companies, and sometimes the companies are a little slow getting off the ground. So MilTech has contacted us. We're working with them and trying to really help these early stage companies accelerate their growth. Fuse Hub, which is our one of our designated MEP centers, they're a statewide center, is administering some grants for us where companies can apply for prototypes, their first prototype, or later stage prototypes, anything that could get them to commercialization a little quicker, and some other efforts like ramping up for manufacturing and things of that nature. The Manufacturing USA Institutes, those are federal funded multi-entity centers really, or consortiums that include universities, industry, and government. And they all have a specific technology focus. NIST MEP, in an effort to try to tie small and medium-sized manufacturers to these institutes, have provided us funding and other state centers funding to hire staff to learn the technology and take them out to the companies so they could use them in their process or develop new products around the technology. That too, we set money aside to provide grants directly to companies to help them get engaged in these new technologies. So there's so much out there. As I said, over 70 centers. We have all these different grants available just through us. Pravina's under her bigger portfolio. There's other grants that small businesses have access to. So the biggest challenge is companies don't know how to get to what they need. There's so much out there almost that it's a lot of noise. So in an effort to really try to build awareness, make sure companies are getting to where they need to be, we've taken a number of actions to really help accelerate companies. Part of that, every year we hold our meeting of NISTAR, our annual meeting, where we bring together our funded centers and partners across the state in an effort to build awareness on who's doing what and try to build opportunities for collaboration. Just last year, or actually this year, we're still in 2017, We started holding a series of regional meetings where we're doing that on the regional level, bringing together folks in an effort to build collaboration and awareness so companies can be referred more quickly and easily to the resource they need. We encourage our centers to do a series of webinars. We're trying to coordinate that so we're not getting too many on the same topic. And Fuse Hub, on our behalf, has been doing a series of blogs and success stories. In addition, Faces of Manufacturing is a feature of a manufacturer. We're rotating across the state where, on a regular basis, we feature a manufacturer for them to tell their story. Ask an Expert is the flip side of that. We have one of our experts talk about who they are, what they do, and how they can help companies. Again, this is all efforts to try to get out to the companies and make it easier to find the resource and assistance they need. Further, we're looking at ways to expand training that's currently available in the state. I-Core is an NSF-funded opportunity, which really is a terrific way to train entrepreneurs to be more successful. We're currently in 2018 arranging for a tech scouting training, and that's basically on the flip side. That'll be our employees under the centers will be trained on how to look to incorporate, or it's really a mindset of looking at the landscape. If there's a technology available, trying to take a look at where that could be used and how. So again, to try to make it more easier path to success. And again, I mentioned cybersecurity. We're expanding assistance with cybersecurity. Some of the companies we helped include Mud, which is it's a frozen dessert company it's out of the city, and they approached us looking for assistance with trying to find an organic food supplier of one of the products they use in their frozen dessert. So we've helped them with that, and now there's some other things that we're looking at helping them with. Gould Pumps, I think this is a great story because this company is over 160-year-old company that received assistance through our High Performance Computing Consortium, taking a look at the flow control and the modeling. After working with HPC, they redesigned their pump. They won back some of the market share that they have lost over the years, and they were awarded one of the Breakthrough Product Awards in 2012. And Order It, a couple of clerks and students developed an app where they could order food right in your seat, get it delivered to your seat at the stadium. They actually took a leave of absence from Clarkson, worked with an alumni, and ended up selling the app and going back to Clarkson to finish out their college career. Really makes me wonder what I did with my time at college.
Did they get much money for the app?
Right. I don't know how much they got. I can find that out, though. All right, Jambox is another interesting story. So Mike DeCesar actually testified at our hearing on, I think that was November 13th, if that's right. That was earlier than that, November 13th. They waited 5 hours to testify in front of the assembly, which impressed me alone. But Mike DeCesar's neighbor, Dave, he was in a skiing accident and was paralyzed. So Mike and Dave would have jam sessions, and Dave would use a harmonica, but it was limited in range. So after a lot of talk and a lot of trial and error, they started developing, it almost looks like a microphone, I'm sorry, a harmonica, but it's a little bigger. And hooked up to the computer, they can really add all sorts of different sounds. So they can make it sound like a trumpet, dogs barking, whatever you want. So working with a lot of our centers, so SUNY Poly helped them with some sensor technology. RPI helped them with some preparation for manufacturing. MTech, our center down in the Mid-Hudson, that's an MEP center, helped them with supply chain, and some other things I'm drawing a blank on, and really helped them get the early models out and be sold. So it's a product that's being sold, contract manufacturing. That's what I was trying to remember. So this is a product that's being sold, and our centers have really helped them get to this point. So now they're ready for the next stage. They're starting to work with Albany Med back, which is our incubator at Albany Med. And they're also working with another incubator of ours at the Tech Valley Center of Gravity. They're working on the next phase of the prototype and other assistance. And they're really looking at this as the next phase of the company is looking at this as a way to assist individuals that have pulmonary disease. NIH is funding them to take a look at how this might assist folks with pulmonary disease. So it's a tremendous opportunity. They got over $1 million grant to explore that. Ephesus, I think a lot of you guys have heard about. It's an LED lighting company. They actually lit up the Super Bowl that was in Arizona. But this started out about 10 years ago. Joe Casper and his wife Amy, right out of Syracuse, started this company. They started small, putting lights in at the Syracuse War Memorial, and eventually built up to the Super Bowl. And it was really an opportunity that came about because, I don't know if you remember, the lights went out in a Super Bowl a couple years prior. So, and NFL really wanted to make sure that didn't happen again. So Ephesus was in the right place at the right time. There's actually a video clip of Ephesus lighting up a Minnesota Vikings game, which I know it's only Minnesota, but as Minnesota scored a touchdown, the lights flickered, they turned purple, and the commentators actually stopped talking about the game and started talking about the lights. That was the impact it had, so I thought that was pretty cool. Corsi Cookies, they make these shortbread cookies with a thick layer of frosting, and there's all sorts of different designs they do. For Christmas time right now, they have presents, they have snowmen, and things like that. Because the icing was so thick, it took forever for it to dry. So this company would have racks of cookies all over the place drying. So they're really limited on their production capacity. In working with Cornell's CCMR, the material center I was mentioned earlier, they reformulated the formula of drying of the icing to reduce the drying time significantly so they could ramp up productions.
What did it do to the taste of the cookies?
It was equivalent, is what I was told. I didn't try it prior, so I can't vouch for that myself, but I was told it was the same taste.
All right, let's check it out.
Yep. And then the last company I wanted to highlight, again, this is another scenario where multiple centers of ours have touched the company and helped better prepare them for success. Vader Systems is a 3D printing or additive manufacturing printing company that prints in liquid metal. They worked with our COE out of the materials informatics, really helped Vader from concept to the early production. Amprint, which is our additive manufacturing CAD or RIT, was the first to purchase a Vader system printer and has helped them take it to the next level. Now they're looking at printing power electronics. So if you think about that, they're looking at two different materials to print on, plastic and metal, to try to print electronics that could go right into products. So again, this is potentially disruptive technology. And now they're also working with our CAT out of Alfred University. Vader had a challenge that they've been struggling with, a technology challenge they've been struggling with for quite some time. After one day meeting with Alfred was able to solve that technology challenge. Okay. So those are some of the examples I have for you. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, and let me highlight. So these are examples of some of the 3D printed material. These are both from RIT. And I was explaining earlier before we started the meeting, the reason it's called additive manufacturing is because it's basically printer heads that go back and forth and build up the product. Historically, you had to take material away, so it was subtractive manufacturing. So that's why it's referred to as additive. And so you can just see the different designs that are done. These are basically the same size, same thing, but just two different examples. And then this is an example of a filter that was done, printed on a 3D printer. So you could get increasingly complex, and you could do things that you could not have historically done in a subtractive manufacturing way. I don't know if you want to pass that around.
They're promoting this out of New Paltz too.
Yes, New Paltz has tremendous capabilities, RIT, Alfred, Clarkson. There's a whole host of our universities that have great capabilities. Norsk, yep.
How
They're-
long does it take to print something like this?
They're getting faster. I would say probably 2 to 4 hours.
And normally, if you didn't have a 3D printer, how would you create that product?
You would put a block of material under a laser cutter, and then so you think of the waste and the energy that's being done because all that material is just got to be scrapped now. So
So its speed is less important than the fact that you're saving product material?
yeah, and the speed's increasing. That's companies aren't using it on a regular basis now, but it's becoming more prevalent as the products get better and more efficient.
I think there's also certain materials and designs that you can't even make by starting with a block and then trying to reduce it, as opposed to literally constructing it from the ground up. There's certain properties and design that are impossible
Yeah, to make
minimize.
a membrane like this, other than doing it with this layup depositing process that deposits it, I think it'd be hard pressed to figure out how to do it. Casting, maybe? That's what's happening, is that they're doing some of these things with this metal layup process, depositing metal. We use it in one of our business to make burner heads for stoves.
What did you do before?
Oh, but 5 or 6 months of machine work, trying to machine something. You do it overnight, put it on, test it, the flame isn't quite right. All right, let's adjust this and this and this, change the print, push a button and it lays it up overnight. It's metal, put it in, try it, good, we could take this. Then you develop a mass, depending on what the volume is, you develop from that design how you're gonna build it. If you're gonna do 100 of them, we use the machine, but if you're gonna do 5 million of them, then you do it production. But it's the design, initiating the design work. It's remarkable, absolutely remarkable what this does for the ability to manufacture stuff.
The other question I had was, you're a small business. How small are these companies that come to you for assistance or you seek out? What are we talking about in terms of size? Do you have a limit? Where does a company get too big?
We don't have a limit. For the MEP program only, the charge is to try to help companies under 500 employees. But we can help them above 500 under certain circumstances. The rest of the programs, we're not limited. The Hotspot Incubator program, of course, it's a merging company, so it's a startup. You would hope to help match them to a large company to help them become a supplier. So, but out of all the programs, our sweet spot's 50 and under employees. And if I could just add to your earlier question, GE, for instance, used to have or has a fuel nozzle that they used to put together 6 or more different pieces, and now it's 3D printed in one piece, and it's a lot more efficient fuel nozzle. The control on letting the release of the fuel is a lot more efficient, so it's helped tremendously with their airplanes.
When you say that you work with startups, what stage of startup are you talking about? Is this very early, or is this, they have to be in business and have a product already, or in the process of developing a product?
We really help companies from concept through maturity. And depending on what it is, it could be our incubators, hotspots primarily, or it could be one of our university research centers. Like Vader they were helped from concept.
They related to Darth Vader?
Not that I know.
Does Vader make the machines?
Yep.
Any other questions for Matt? We talk about innovation and disruption and economic growth. This is all part of the ecosystem of innovation in the state of New York. And an interesting statistic is that companies that have been open in New York State for less than a year created more jobs than companies that have been open between 11 and over 20 years. So the innovation economy is extremely important. It has a lot to do with economic growth in this state. In an era of innovation and science, it plays to New York State's strength. And these centers of excellence, centers of advanced technology, manufacturing extension partnerships, whether it's a new business or helping companies innovate new products and stay competitive globally, it's a huge part of, our economy. It's what we talk about as one of the key pillars of economic development: innovation, revitalization, workforce, and tradable sector. So NISTAR, Matt and his group, and how we support these many centers throughout the state, in every region of the state, has done a great job, and it's an important part of how we help drive innovation, which helps drive sales, employment, investment, things of that nature. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Glenn, will you present a summary before we get into regional projects?
Thank you, Howard. Good morning. The directors will be requested to consider 19 projects totaling $64,250,078 in grants. The projects will include 1 Buffalo Regional Innovation Cluster Award, 6 Regional Council Awards, and 13 discretionary awards. The projects will take place in the Western New York, Southern Tier, Finger Lakes, Central New York, Long Island, North Country, Mohawk Valley, Mid-Hudson, and New York City regions, leverage over $269 million of additional investment, retain 799 jobs, and create 381 jobs in the state. Thank you.
Thanks, Glenn. Mike Ball, we're going to kick it off with Western New York if you're on the line.
Thank you. Good morning, directors. I have one project to present this morning. Today we're requesting your approval of a $2 million capital and working capital grant from the Buffalo Regional Innovation Cluster Fund to the Community Foundation of Buffalo. These funds will be dedicated to implementing the East Side Stabilization Initiative of Western New York REDC's comprehensive plan for Buffalo Billion Phase 2, specifically for the first phase of the homesteading program that was announced at an event in Buffalo by Governor Cuomo this summer. There are 3 prongs. The first phase of the homesteading program, 1, is providing new home ownership opportunities that the directors approved last month, which provides funds to the city of Buffalo to create home ownership opportunities. Today, the directors are requested to approve $2 million that will go to the Community Foundation of Buffalo for the housing preservation and neighborhood stabilization prong of the homesteading program. The funds will support the continuation and expansion of a successful existing program currently managed by the Community Foundation called the Green and Healthy Homes Initiative, or GHHI, which launched in 2010. The project will result in repairs to an estimated 200 occupied homes through June of 2019 on the east side of Buffalo and in the adjacent town of Cheektowaga that are at risk of foreclosure and or becoming abandoned by creating a coordinated case management type funding stream capable of addressing low-income homeowners' needs for energy efficiency, home health, and safety through comprehensive interventions. GHHI Buffalo intentionally breaks down funding silos so that low and moderate income families can access weatherization and home health programs from multiple organizations through one collaborative process, thereby reducing the number of properties that are at risk of becoming vacant and improving the quality of housing stock and health outcomes on the east side of Buffalo and in the town of Cheektowaga, while also training workers for green construction jobs. The funding award and GHHI program will be managed, tracked, and reported to ESD by the Community Foundation, with the assistance of a yet-to-be-contracted project coordination entity in the community, as well as a pool of qualified production partners, and the Community Foundation must approve the work on each home. The production partners are nearly all small to mid-sized housing-focused organizations, many of which hire and train workers from the target neighborhoods that are contractually funded to assist with emergency repair, weatherization, home ownership, foreclosure prevention, and related services with other funding from sources like the City of Buffalo, the federal government, and New York State. An estimated average of $10,000 per housing unit will fund the necessary building improvements. The project will reduce the number of properties at risk of becoming vacant and will improve the quality of the housing stock and health outcomes on the east side of Buffalo and in the town of Cheektowaga, while also training workers for green construction jobs. Furthermore, the project will provide economic benefit and improve property values throughout the communities where the work takes place. Thank you.
Any questions? Any questions for Mike? Joyce?
Yeah, on a program like this, do we coordinate with the state's Department of Housing and Community Renewal? Because they have similar programs that the two might benefit from working together.
Yes, absolutely. They're a partner in this program. In some cases, they might also have assistance in a particular project, but coordination is taking place both regards to targeted neighborhoods, funding, and then many of the protocols within the program are carried over from HCR programs.
Thank you. Oh, really?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, Derek.
so what are the standards or the requirements for determining who gets selected to participate in the program and who gets turned down or who does not get selected?
So the properties, families will be qualified based on income, whether or not they're in the targeted neighborhood. There's 4 zip codes that are being targeted, which are also being targeted by the city of Buffalo for related initiatives and HCR. Are they vulnerable? Do they have health-related concerns already? There's a number of criteria that are already established through the GHHI program that will help determine whether families are eligible.
What about the condition of the homes? Is that a factor?
Yes, absolutely. So condition of the home and need as related is also a consideration.
Other questions for Mike on this item? Are there any comments from the public on this? Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, Mike. Joe Roman is with us from the Southern Tier and has 3 projects. Joe?
Yes, thank you, Howard, and good morning, directors. Directors are requested to approve a $1,072,500 grant to Emhart Glass Manufacturing for the acquisition of a building called the former Sikorsky Hawkworks facility in Horseheads, New York. This facility was left by Sikorsky about 5 years ago in Chemung County, and it's an absolutely wonderful project. They'll fill that with Emhart Glass. They are going to occupy and renovate this 100,000 square foot facility, 7,500 square feet of office space, and also they're going to construct a 6,400 square foot addition. The company, Emhart, outgrew its current facility in Elmira, which it's been since about 1950 in that facility, and they're also going to consolidate operations for some of their inventory and machining into this new facility in Big Flats. The company has facilities in Malaysia and China as a result of the Booger acquisition, and they chose, obviously, Chemung County, New York. They submitted a proposal under CF4 to assist with the redevelopment of the project, and the total project cost is approximately $7.2 million. It's going to create 12 jobs and retain 96 jobs in Chemung County.
Joe, go through all the projects, okay?
Okay, sure. Thank you, Howard. The next one is Broome County Capital. The directors are requested to approve a grant for $1,250,000 to Broome County for infrastructure improvements to extend municipal sewer services to the Greater Binghamton Airport Corporate Park. The infrastructure right now, the sewage infrastructure right now is in disrepair and nearing the end of its useful life. Many of that area is still on septic systems. The project is expected to spur significant economic growth and job creation through attracting commercial investment to the area. This will probably be arguably, if not the, one of the best sites in Broome County. Give or take, depending on who you talk to, it's anywhere from 700 to 1,000 acres. That would open up for development. The total project cost for this is $10 million. and we are leveraging $8.750 million in private investment, or I'm sorry, I should say county investment. And that's the Groom County Municipal Pork Store project. The next one is SUNY Binghamton Center for Excellence. This is the battery dry room. The directors are requested to approve a $600,000 grant to Binghamton University to be used to construct and equip a battery package dry room at Binghamton University Center of Excellence. The university has partnered with a couple companies and industrial leaders to specialize and advance in the field of energy storage. The next generation of lithium-ion batteries being developed at Binghamton University must be constructed in an environment. This is where you get the battery dry room from, the dry room containing less than 2% water vapor, and the dry room facility with that consistency is needed in order to work on these batteries. They plan to work with companies and manufacturers to build and test systems with reliable and reproducible results. So hopefully it will be able to be used in the corporate world. They applied through round fund to the CFA process, and as I said before, was awarded $600,000 for this project for the battery dry room. The total project cost is $3 million, $150,000. And I'll entertain any questions if there are.
Any questions for Joe on either of these three items from directors? Is there any comment from the public on any of these items? Is there a motion to approve the three items? Thank you, Joy. Second. Derek, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
The Long Island region is up next, and Denise Zani will be presenting a capital project item related to St. Joseph's College. Denise?
Hi, yes. Good morning, Howard. Good morning, directors. The directors are requested to approve a $611,000 regional council capital grant to St. Joseph's College. St. Joseph's, a private college founded in 1916, has approximately 5,000 students and over 500 faculty members at their two campuses in Brooklyn and Patchogue. St. Joseph's has invested $3,015,530 to renovate and modernize 9,000 square feet of existing space on their Patchogue campus in Suffolk County to create the new Institute for Hospitality and Tourism Management. This project has created 8 new full-time jobs and was a regional council priority project from round 3 in the year 2013. Tourism is a key economic growth sector on Long Island, employing over 100,000 people. Realizing the huge job potential that exists in hospitality, St. Joseph's College Tourism Management degree program will train the future workforce in this growing industry, as well as other vital fields such as healthcare, where strong hospitality training needs exist. The 9,000 square foot Hospitality and Tourism Institute is fully operational and includes 6 classrooms that double as lecture halls, a student hospitality lounge, a veterans resource center, and conference meeting space. In the first 2 years, 79 students have graduated with bachelor's degrees in hospitality and tourism management, and the college expects that number to double by 2020. This project furthers a key regional strategy identified by the Regional Economic Development Council to create both cohesive education and workforce training partnerships among a range of stakeholders to ensure workers from our communities are prepared to take advantage of new job opportunities in key economic growth sectors. Thank you, and I'll take any questions.
Okay, any questions for Denise? Joyce?
Yeah, do we track the graduates of this program to see whether they remain in New York or whether they go elsewhere?
The college has not tracked that, but we have brought it to their attention that they should start, because we know that's a key initiative of New York State to retain our educated workforce and keep them here in the region.
Right, especially since we're paying for the training. Thank you.
A portion of it. Any other questions from directors? Any comments from the public? Is there a motion to approve this item? Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Thank you very much, Denise. The New York City region is up next with 2 projects. Mike Morse and Destiny Burns will present these items. Mike, do you want to start?
Sure. Thank you, Howard. Good morning, and good morning, directors. This project is, we're requesting approval by the board of up to $1 million in EDF capital grant funds to be paid to General Motors in support of their project that saw them relocate their Cadillac brand headquarters from Detroit, Michigan to New York City. They relocated to 34,000 square feet at 330 Hudson Street in Lower Manhattan. 12,000 square feet of this space is known as Cadillac House, a state-of-the-art showroom for their iconic brand of vehicles that are selling well currently. They're very pleased with the move, with the talented workforce they've been able to tap, and just the visibility of being in the vibrant New York City. Their commitment to New York State was to invest $6.5 million in renovation, furniture, fixtures, and equipment. They've exceeded that. Their employment commitment was to create 55 net new jobs, and they've tripled that. So we're very pleased with their performance on this project, and that's pretty much it.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Let's hear from Destiny.
The directors are requested to approve a grant of $5 million to the Upper Manhattan Empowerment Zone Development.
Bring the microphone a little closer, please. Thanks.
Sure. Is that better?
Yep.
Okay, I'll start over.
Closer the better.
The directors are requested to approve a grant of $5 million to the Upper Manhattan Empowerment Zone Development Corporation, also known as UMEZ. UMEZ will use the grant proceeds to fund a loan to assist with capital costs of the renovation of the George Washington Bridge Bus Terminal. The renovation will transform the outdated bus station into a modern transit and retail hub. It will quadruple the retail space and improve efficiency through upgrades and consolidation of bus operations to accommodate 50% more bus and passenger traffic. The renovation is creating 530 construction jobs and 319 permanent full-time jobs. UMEZ is a not-for-profit entity that administers the Upper Manhattan portion of the New York Empowerment Zone, which was established in 1994 in response to the Empowerment Zone legislation authored by Charlie Rangel during the Clinton administration. The New York Empowerment Zone, which also includes southern parts of the Bronx, was awarded $100 million from the federal program and matching grants from state and city sources totaling $300 million. To date, the state has dispersed approximately $90 million for projects located within the zone. Approval of this $5 million will satisfy close to 50% of New York State's remaining commitment to match federal and city grants to the New York Empowerment Zone.
Okay, great. Thanks, Destiny. Are there any questions for Mike yet, or Destiny? Joyce?
It would appear to me that this is actually a transportation infrastructure project, and I'm just wondering if we're filling the gap that's been left by the lack of transportation infrastructure funding from the federal government.
The project itself, the bus station transportation project, was approved by ESD subsidiary, the New York Empowerment Zone Corporation. And this grant is actually to go to Upper Manhattan Empowerment Zone for a grant that for a loan that they've already approved for the project a couple of years ago.
Right. I think the question that I'm interested in is the broader one, which is the extent to which New York State is filling in for financing that was previously available from the federal government, but which, because of their budget cuts, are no longer, or lack of action on transportation, particularly Transportation Act, are no longer available.
Yeah, and I don't have a number to, identify,
Right.
but I think, your comment is, your question is also partly a comment or a commentary
Yeah,
in
I
terms
think
of.
it's great that New York State can do it and is willing
Right.
to do it, but I'm just curious as
Right.
to the broader picture.
Yeah, we'd welcome more infrastructure investment, including transportation investment, which is particularly important here. And you see
Yeah.
this governor make an extraordinary commitment to infrastructure, particularly transportation, be it airports, train stations, Long Island Railroad, bridges. I mean, we would have welcomed a substantial infrastructure, federal infrastructure investment program that has thus far been missing.
Well, I'm glad to see this is happening, because having used that bus station, I hate to use the word, but it was deplorable.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments or questions on either this, the project that Destiny presented, or the Cadillac headquarters, which is now in New York City, which was kind of a exciting change for a General Motors division to move its headquarters out of Detroit to New York City. It speaks a lot about the design, the focus that Cadillac has on design and technology, and the workforce that it feels New York offers.
We now call ourselves the Cadillac City.
Right. So, any other questions or comments from directors? Any comments from the public on either of these two items? Is there a motion to approve both? Second, all in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you both. Jim Fail, and if not Jim, I think Zach Becker, Craig Alfred, and Steve Golick will present 6 projects from the Central New York region. Jim, I don't know if you're on the phone or if Zach is on the phone, but either one.
Hello, this is Zach Becker. Again, Jim is not able to make the phone call. So the first project, the directors are being asked to approve $3 million in Upstate Revitalization Initiative funds to be paid to the State Tower Garage Incorporated for the restorations of floors 1 through 8 of the 21-story State Tower building for commercial and retail tenants. The State Tower building is one of the last of the iconic buildings in downtown Syracuse that still needs to be redeveloped as part of the Regional Council's push for a renovated and redeveloped downtown core. The total project cost is $9,910,435, with the completion anticipated in December 2017, this month. In the next project, the directors are being asked to approve $700,000 in Upstate Revitalization Initiative funds for a Round 5 CFA project to be paid to Sunoco Inc. for the renovations and equipping of a 30 metric ton per week grain malting facility. This project will assist the farm breweries across the state in meeting upcoming requirements and sourcing their ingredients from within New York State. Those requirements, starting in 2019, will be 60%, raising up to 90% sourced in-state in 2024. The project was completed in September of 2017, and the total project cost was $14,844,072.
Great. Sorry, do you have any more items to present, or are we moving to Craig and Steve?
I do have 2 more to present.
Okay, keep
If
going.
Craig and Steve want to go first, I can wait.
No, go ahead.
Okay. The third one, the directors are being asked to approve $5 million in Upstate Revitalization Initiative funds to be paid to Center State CEO for the second round of the Genius New York Business Accelerator competition, which focuses on developing and growing unmanned aerial, ground, and marine vehicle businesses in Central New York. The project has been a success in fostering unmanned system startups, and the winner of Round 1 has already committed to a permanent location in Syracuse, creating 60 well-paying jobs, primarily in STEM fields. The project is anticipated to complete in December of 2018, and the total project cost is $5 million. And then the fourth project is the directors are being asked to approve $10 million in Upstate Revitalization Initiative funds to be paid to the City of Auburn for the construction, design, and equipping of the Equal Rights Heritage Center. This project will serve as both a tourism destination and a guide, referring tourists to sites across the state focused on the New York State historical contributions to culture, rights, and equality, specifically targeting women's suffrage movement, marriage equality, abolition, and the Underground Railroad, and the Civil Rights Movement. The project is anticipated to be completed by December 2018, and the total project cost will be $11,379,500. Is there any questions I can help out with?
Thanks, Zach. We'll come back to you on that. We're going to do two more items, and then, so if you'll just stay on the line, please. Thanks. Craig, or is Craig going to start, or are you going to do it, Steve?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Howard. Good morning, and good morning to the directors. In 2016, the directors approved 2 capital grants totaling $90 million to Fort Schuyler Management Corporation. The grants were used to acquire real property, construct a facility, and purchase and install specialized manufacturing equipment at SUNY Poly's Central New York Hub for Emerging Industries. The project resulted in an 82,200 square foot state-of-the-art facility located in DeWitt, New York, in Onondaga County. At the time the grants were approved, it was expected that a business called Sora Incorporated would lease the facility from Fort Schuyler and establish its operations there. However, due to some unexpected delays, Fort Schuyler and Sora have agreed to amicably and mutually terminate the relationship. ESD and Fort Schuyler have secured a new tenant for the facility, NextGen Power Systems Incorporated. NextGen is based in Silicon Valley, and they will produce power electronic semiconductor devices that are manufactured using gallium nitride, which is the same material that was going to be used by Sora as part of their process. As a part of its agreement with ESD, NextGen will commit to employing at least 290 new full-time and permanent employees within 7 years of project completion, which is expected during the second quarter of 2018. NextGen will also invest approximately $40 million at the facility. The directors will be asked to authorize 2 actions. The first is changing the beneficiary of the existing grants from Sora to NextGen, and the second is authorizing a capital grant of up to $15 million to NextGen for the purchase and installation of tooling and equipment to be used by NextGen at the facility.
Steve?
Thank you, Howard. Thank you, Howard. We're asking the board to approve a $1.7 million grant to Fort Schuyler Management Company or Corporation for the Central New York Film Hub. This project was originally funded by 2 DASNY grants. During the course of construction, the costs increased to the project, which left a project deficit of $3.1 million. This grant will fund a settlement. Corps actually sued under an existing lease between Fort Schuyler and Corps, and we worked out a global settlement which will resolve all disputes between the two. It'll involve buying out the lease, any claims under the real estate purchase agreement, and the construction agreement. If the board may recall, in June of this year, an $875,000 grant was approved for this project. Those funds have been dispersed to pay subcontractors who were not paid on the contract. This final grant is a working capital grant to fund the settlement, which will resolve all outstanding issues. And within the next week, Fort Schuyler will take title to the property and the project will move forward. Thank you.
Great. Okay, we've got 6 items, just to refresh everyone's memory, starting with downtown revitalization item on the historic hotel, ag and malting project, an innovation project we refer to as Genius New York, unmanned aerial systems, business plan competition in Central New York, the Equal Rights Heritage Center in Auburn, historic cultural tourism project, tradable sector project, Sora, previously Sora, now NextGen, and the Film Hub, which were originally SUNY Poly projects that our team has done and dedicated a tremendous amount of time to, and I think has made tremendous progress in all of these SUNY Poly projects, truthfully. So let me ask if there's any questions from the directors to any of the presenters on either of these 6 items.
Howard, just a quick question for Craig. How do the economics on the NextGen deal differ from the original deal with Sora?
Well, the job totals are roughly equivalent. I believe Sora was, I can't recall if it was 200 or 300 direct jobs, but NextGen will be 290 direct jobs over 7 years. The existing grants will totaling $90 million will continue to cover the construction of the facility, and the new grant will cover the new $15 million grant will cover some additional equipment required by NextGen.
NextGen is also investing in, I don't know if Mark's on the line, or Kevin, you're welcome to participate in this as well. NextGen's also investing $40 million. Sora was investing none. NextGen is paying rent that's different than what Sora was paying, and is considerably more. So,
Sounds like a better deal.
I mean, we think it has better opportunity. We think it aligns with the ecosystem of semiconductor and power electronics, which is so prevalent in upstate New York. From Albany, you see it in Albany, Utica, now Syracuse. Photonics in Rochester connects back to the semiconductor industry as well. So, I mean, we're building a powerhouse, I think, of supply chain innovation and research around this industry. NextGen with gallium nitride is another potential disruptive technology that can enhance the performance of power electronics, like we've invested in silicon carbide, like we've invested in traditional silicon materials, similarly gallium nitride. So we think it has good alignment, and we think the company has good potential. There's no sure things, but we think it's a good fit.
Great.
Other comments or questions from directors on any of these 6 Central New York items? And again, I want to thank Steve and Craig and everyone who's worked on it. Kevin, with the Film Hub, these have been difficult issues to resolve, and it's great to kind of bring them to conclusion. So thank you. Any comments from the public on any of these 6 items? Is there a motion to approve all 6?
Second.
Rob, second. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Great, thank you. Vinny Esposito will present 2 projects from Finger Lakes. Vinny?
Thanks, Howard. Good morning, directors. Yes, I have 2 projects this morning. The first of which is a $4.475 million capital grant from the New York Works Economic Development Fund for the city of Geneva to help create the brand new Finger Lakes Welcome Center. If you recall, last year, as part of Governor Cuomo's agenda, he announced the creation of 10 new welcome centers across New York State, 1 in each of the economic development regions. Several have been opened. You may have seen them on the Long Island Expressway in Long Island, on I-81 in the southern tier, and on the Thruway in the Mohawk Valley. The Finger Lakes Welcome Center was identified not to be on a major highway, but rather at a facility at the north end of Seneca Lake in the city of Geneva that currently serves as the Geneva Visitor and Events Center. So instead of creating a new building, we're providing this grant for them to renovate and expand the existing building, which will be a gateway that focuses on the craft beverage and agritourism industry in the Finger Lakes. The project is currently under construction and is expected to be completed by May of 2018. Excuse me. The second project, the directors are being asked to approve a capital grant of $420,000 from the Regional Council Capital Fund to the Genesee County Industrial Development Agency to purchase and develop a 75-acre parcel located in the town of Leroy for an agriculture and food technology park. This project was awarded as part of the Regional Council in Round 5, 2015. The grantee has achieved the necessary milestones to draw the first disbursement of the $972,000 total project. They've acquired the land and have begun to perform infrastructure preparations. I'll take any questions you might have.
Any questions from directors for Vinny on these 2 items? Any comments from the public on these? Is there a motion to approve? Thanks, Derek. Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Thank you, Vinny. Megan Taylor has 2 items from the Mid-Hudson. Megan?
Yes, thank you, Howard. Good morning, everyone. I am presenting, the first project that I'm presenting today is an $800,000 Regional Council Capital Grant Fund from Round 4 for the village of Wappingers Falls infrastructure project in Dutchess County. The Village of Wappinger Falls invested just over $5.3 million to extend municipal water and sewer service along Market Street to the former Duchess Bleachery, which is an industrial zone property in the village, now called Market Street Industrial Park, and adjacent properties to improve its readiness for development. Today, the sewer service, today the site is shovel ready, and a number of developers have entered varying degrees of site planning. And sewer service on site has attracted developers and enabled the craft beverage industry to consider the site as an option for a brewing facility. The Village of Wappinger Falls is in Dutchess County, New York, as I mentioned before, and a portion of the village is in the town of Wappinger, and the other part is in the town of Poughkeepsie, with Wappinger Creek as the dividing line between the towns. As of 2010, the census of the population of the village was just over 5,500 people. This infrastructure project was completed in September of 2017, and the project is consistent with the Mid-Hudson Regional Economic Development Council's plan, specifically the LIVE strategy, where the council strives to support projects that improve infrastructure to make the region more business ready. This second project that I have is a $500,000 EDF grant from 2015 for Compass Group USA for their regional headquarters retention project in the village of Rybrook in Westchester County. In December 2015, the company's lease was due to expire at its Rybrook location in Westchester County and considered whether Compass Group should maintain operations in New York State or move to Connecticut. With the support of ESD incentives, Compass Group USA invested just over $4.1 million to modernize and renovate its current regional headquarters at 2 International Drives in Westchester, retaining 91 jobs and allowing the company to remain in New York State rather than move operations to Connecticut. Established in 1941, Compass Group is a global outsourced food and support service company, serving clients in over 50 countries with approximately 500,000 employees worldwide, with leading market positions in the UK, continental Europe, Australia, and the US, combined with business in developing markets in Eastern Europe, South America, and Asia. Compass Group was named one of America's 500 best employers by Forbes, and it was ranked as one of the highest contract food and support services company. Today, the company's customers come primarily from 5 business sectors, including business and industry, healthcare and seniors, education, sports and leisure, and defense, including offshore and remote customers. Some customers include companies like IBM, United Technologies Corp., Mount Sinai Hospital in New York City, and many others. The regional headquarter renovations, including upgrades to the equipment, electrical, lighting, plumbing, HVAC, and sprinkler systems, as well as framing and the installation of office furniture, fixtures, and equipment, are complete, and the 91 jobs continue to be retained. The investment in this facility will allow for continued success in this space and will also support new opportunities for sustainable growth. And again, this project aligns with the Mid-Hudson Regional Economic Development Council's work strategy and also the Food and Beverage Regional Economic Cluster program here in the Mid-Hudson. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Megan from directors on either of these 2 items? Comments from the public on these 2 items? Is there a motion to approve both? Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thanks, Megan. Mike Reese.
Great. Happy holidays.
Thank you. From Mohawk Valley will present an item related to the Memorial Auditorium Capital Project. Mike?
Good morning, Howard. Good morning, directors. The directors are being asked to approve 2 capital grants totaling up to $10,550,000, made up of a $1.5 million grant from the New York State Assembly Capital Project Fund and $9,050,000 from the New York Works Program to be used for a portion of the cost of construction and renovation to the Upper Mohawk Valley Memorial Auditorium. The Mohawk Valley Memorial Auditorium Authority was formed in 1993 to operate the Utica Memorial Auditorium. The auditorium was built in 1959 and was one of the first structures in the world with a cable-supported roof. It exists as a National Engineering Landmark as well as a State Historic Building. The Utica Memorial Auditorium is currently a premier entertainment venue that features concerts, sporting events, family shows, and national programming. The auditorium is home to the Utica Comets, an ALH team affiliated with the Vancouver Canucks, which started using the auditorium as their home ice in 2013. The Comets have sold out every home game for the past 2 seasons, and that streak continues in this season that we're currently in. Project consists of a 21,000 square foot expansion that will provide additional club box seating as well as luge seating, as well as meeting current standards for the American with Disabilities Act, including a new elevator, fire alarms, sprinklers, an over 100% increase in the number of women's restrooms, and also adding permanent office space for employees. The additional seating options will bring the auditorium to the same tier as Blue Cross Arena in Rochester and the Times Union in Albany. The total project cost is $10,550,000, which was substantially complete for the first home game of the season, which was played on November the 1st. This project solidifies downtown Utica as a regional and international tourist destination and is consistent with the Mohawk Valley Regional Economic Development Council strategy of placemaking, downtown revitalization, and tourism. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions from Mike on this item? Yes, Derek.
So this is a good example, I think, as well as the project we did a few minutes ago on the Syracuse Art Deco building. I mean, I think when we have renovations of buildings that are of significant architectural prominence, historical architectural prominence, it'd be great to include pictures. I'd love to see kind of what this all is about and why it's so exciting. So,
I agree with you.
yeah.
I've always said that, the pictures.
Well, particularly the Art Deco building, and you were saying something about the ceiling of the roof or whatever. This project, you know, great to see what it all looks like.
Get before and after. Or before
Or what
renderings of
distinguishes
what
this building?
expected to look like.
Yeah, what distinguishes it architecturally? Apparently, there's.
Yeah, they have that in this thing for the GM thing, and
From
it's
the other
really,
one.
you see that and say, hey, this is solid stuff.
Yep, we can do it. We can include more.
Got it. We will do it.
Yeah. Great.
All right. Other comments or questions? Any questions from the public or comment from the public? Is there a motion to approve this item?
Second.
All in favor?
You say the photographs also work well on these things,
Any opposed? What are these things called
which I'm
again?
using for the first time.
All right.
But I'm not taking it.
Simone will present the Restore New York Communities item. Simone?
Thank you. The directors are asked to approve a modification to the general project plan for a $630,000 Restore Round 3 grant to the town of Osable.
Microphone again, thank you, please.
Okay.
Don't back away from the microphone when you put it there.
The grant was originally approved in August 2010 to redevelop two properties, 1745 Main Street, referred to as the Stone Office Building, and 126 Osable Street, referred to as the Stone Mill, for mixed-use commercial and residential space. In 2013, renovation of the Stone Office Building was completed, and $71,118 in funds were dispersed. As of September 2017, there is a balance of $558,882 on the grant. The construction of the Stone Mill building into a residential building did not take place. Difficulty with identifying a long-term commercial tenant and a real estate market that did not support the pricing required to construct residential units in an historic building was the problem. However, in 2016, the town partnered with the Adirondack North Country Association to create a new plan for redeveloping the property. And today, the revised project will consist of site work and renovations to the vacant 10,500 square foot building. The building will be transformed into a flexible commercial space to create a small business incubator for the agricultural sector. The project is expected to complete in December 2018. And today we're asking for modification of the sources and uses for the budget, an increase in the total project cost from $1 million approximately to $1.1 million, and a change in scope to apply the remaining funds for the redevelopment of the property from a commercial facility into a commercial facility instead of a residential one. Thank you.
Okay, any questions or comments from directors on this item for Simone? Any comments from the public on this? Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Simone. Christine Kostopoulos is up next and will present the New York State Electric Generation Facility Cessation Mitigation Program.
Thank you, Howard. Good morning, directors.
The directors are being asked to approve a $1.9 million grant to the Kenmore-Tonawanda School District. The grant is to offset the tax losses due to the closure of the Huntley Power Plant. The grant is for the second program year for the Tonawanda School District and represents 70% of the tax loss that they suffered due to the property tax loss that they suffered due to the closure of the Huntley Power Plant. And a short item. Any questions?
Okay, yep, that was good and short. Way to go. Any,
I'm not
what
sure
is
I
it?
understand.
Yeah, so the context of this?
Yeah, why are we coming up with money to support a school
Yeah,
district?
well, it was legislation that was passed a couple years ago, and where there was a closure of a significant electric generation facility, the state supports by law the lost revenue as long as it meets certain thresholds at a declining percentage over time. I think the first year might have been like 90%, I can't recall, or 100, and then it goes down 10% each year, unless and until it gets repurposed or, generates local tax
is
revenue again.
Legislatively required.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, they have to apply, but they have to apply. It's not as of right, I think, but.
Provided a source of funds for this specific purpose, any eligible municipalities, that they meet the requirements, and they can funding as long as there's funding.
But it literally is a bill that was passed in the budget a couple years ago, specifically for this purpose, and it had that long name that I read off when I introduced the topic.
Okay.
So, any other questions
So
or
be it.
any other questions or comments from directors? Any comments from the public on this item? Is there a motion to approve? Thank you. Second, all in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you. Lindsay will present. You have 2 items, Lindsay.
Yes.
Take it away.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. For the first item, the directors are requested to approve.
There you go.
Better?
Yep.
Okay. For our first item, the directors are requested to approve an investment by the Innovation Venture Capital Fund of up to $250,000 in AgriList, a company based in Brooklyn that provides farm management software for indoor agriculture facilities. The fund previously invested $500,000 in AgriList in June 2016 as part of a $1.5 million convertible debt financing. Since our last investment, the company has developed and proven out a repeatable sales process. Its revenues have grown steadily month over month, and the company's customer renewal rate over the last 12 months has been 100%. AgriList has also expanded its market presence by collaborating with strategic distribution partners, including several key players in the greenhouse hardware space, to distribute its software via a channel sales model. So in order to fund its activities over the next 18 to 24 months, AgriList is raising up to $750,000 of convertible debt. The Innovation Venture Capital Fund will invest up to $250,000 into this investment round, with the balance being provided by private sector investors. Those co-investors are 2 strategic investment funds that are experienced in the agriculture space, one based in St. Louis and the other in Hong Kong. The company will use the proceeds from this investment round to make up to 10 new full-time hires over the next year. The company has stated a commitment to upstate hiring and intends to recruit all new software developers from upstate and western New York. Currently, a third of the company's workforce is located in either Buffalo or the Hudson Valley. For a second item, the directors are requested to approve an investment of up to $100,000 into a $1 million convertible debt financing round for Seamless Docs. This is a New York City company. Seamless Docs has developed a software platform that converts outdated paper forms and PDF documents into user-friendly online processes. The company is targeting the government sector and has secured contracts with over 270 government agencies. The fund previously invested $1.75 million in the company in March 2016. Since the last financing, Seamless Docs has proven out its sales process and is reaching critical mass in the marketplace, penetrating over 50% of the largest cities in the U.S. The company recently implemented 2 major additions to its core platform, Seamless Labs, a government website builder, and Government Relationship Manager, which is the first CRM system built for government relationships. Currently, the company employs 31 staff in New York State, and an increase of 25 since the time of our initial investment. Seamless Docks is in the process of raising a new $7 million round of financing and recently received a term sheet from a lead investor. This financing is expected to close in 45 to 60 days. The $1 million convertible debt note we plan to invest under is intended to provide a working capital cushion in case the closing extends beyond 60 days. Happy to take any questions.
Any, I'm sorry, you have questions on these, either these venture
It
items?
says up to 100,000, and the young lady said 1 million.
The total round will be $1 million. Our allocation will be $100,000.
Other questions or comments on either of these two New York venture items?
No, great.
Any comments from the public on these items? Is there a motion to approve? Thank you. Second, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, thank you, Lindsay. Kathleen Mize will present the first of our administrative actions. Kathleen?
Thank you and good morning. Authorization is being sought to approve a 3-year contract with ADP LLC for payroll, human resources, and time and attendance processing services in the amount not to exceed $256,755, including a 10% contingency. In 2014, ESD's finance, human resources, and IT staff sought to integrate these services into one system to increase efficiencies. We received bids and demonstrations from ADP and 3 other vendors. ADP was selected because of the functional features and opportunities offered through its Workforce Now integrated system and its familiarity with ESD's operations as the corporation's payroll processing firm for many years. In addition, ADP offered lower pricing for a 4-year term, which has expired. As a result, ADP has provided a new 3-year contract that continues the current discounted pricing for the first year and provides for a one-time 2% increase for the next 2 years. As we are in the process of upgrading our PeopleSoft general ledger system, it is not viable to seek to change our vendor for payroll, human resources, and timekeeping services at this time. A contract reporter exemption has been approved for this contract. We have the option of issuing an RFP for these services before the expiration of the new ADP contract. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Just in time for the new tax law.
Absolutely. Another reason not to change.
Good timing.
Another reason not to change vendors.
Yes.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, why are these services not provided by the state government? Why does it have to be done by an outside vendor? Because of the status of UDC as a public benefit corporation, which is not a
Bingo.
Right,
not
right.
an executive
We're not
agency?
state employees.
Yeah. How long have we used outside service providers for this?
Always, always. Again, because we're not
Yeah.
New York State employees.
Other questions or comments from directors?
Yes.
Cesar moves. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Kathleen. Christopher Ortiz will present a contract amendment request for legal services related to the new New York broadband program. Christopher.
Good morning. The directors are requested to authorize the amendment of a contract with Skadden, ARP, Slate, Meager, and Floam to continue to support the new New York broadband program and authorization to take related actions. The Empire State Development engaged Skadden to support its efforts to obtain federal funding through the Connect America Fund program. In January 2017, the FCC, after more than a year of advocacy by the governor and other New York State officials and our congressional partners, the FCC announced the commitment of up to $170 million to provide broadband service in areas of the state designated by the FCC as unserved. This funding will be allocated in concert with the new New York broadband program, who's in connection with our Phase 3 awards, which we anticipate announcing in the very near future. Skadden has counseled ESD through obtaining this federal funding commitment and will be counseling ESD in connection with implementing this funding partnership. The contract is currently not to exceed $249,000. Skadden was selected competitively and then re-engaged on a single source basis. And Skadden's performance throughout the engagement has been effective, as evidenced by the successful commitment of funding. The amendment would extend the time for performance under the contract through February 2019, and also authorize a 10% contingency of $24,900 to be added to the contract, to be held in reserve under the contract. So I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions or comments from directors on this amendment? Comments from the public?
Move it.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you, Christopher. Laura Rogers will request authorization to enter a contract for the procurement of power for facilities owned by the corporation. Laura.
The lights go out.
It's pretty dark right here.
Exactly. So today we seek authorization from the directors to enter into a new agreement with the New York Power Authority for the supply of electricity to the corporation. ESD has received electric service from NYPA since 1996 under an agreement known as the Application for Electric Service, which is set to expire at the end of this current year. Since 2014, ESD has saved more than $1.5 million in electricity costs. This is in comparison to Con Edison's retail electricity rates, for an average annual reduction of approximately 20% in our electricity bills. Current ESD properties and projects serviced by NYPA include our office space here at 633 3rd Avenue and the Barclays Arena. ESD also plans to add the Farley Building, the future home of the Moynihan Train Hall, to our NYPA arrangement. In the last year, NYPA and all 9 of the New York City customers, including entities such as the Battery Park City Authority and the City of New York, entered into negotiations for a new supplemental long-term power supply arrangement, or an LTA. The LTA before you today for consideration is a 10-year term and incorporates recent shifts in the electricity business, New York State's clean energy goals, and continuing changes in the NYPA supply portfolio, all in an effort to continue to provide value for and service this customer group. I'll just note that the key terms are outlined in the materials presented to you today. Through this ongoing collaborative relationship between NYPA and the New York City customers, it's expected that ESD will continue to achieve significant savings when compared to alternative suppliers of energy. And finally, I note that should we opt not to sign this LTA, NYPA would continue to be our electricity provider, but at a higher cost, more representative of prevailing market prices. I welcome any questions.
Don't talk through the sale.
Yes, Joyce, question.
What are the provisions for using alternative sources of power generation?
It provides more flexibility to ESD to request such services from NYPA. So it's not an explicit obligation on our behalf, but it allows us more flexibility in engaging with NYPA to provide such services.
Any other questions or comments for Laura on this? Any comments from the public on this item?
Move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great.
Thank you.
I don't have to come to meetings anymore. This is perfect. All right. Before I introduce Tom Conoscenti, we are going to take up the item of Belmont and the conditional designation of the developer for the Belmont Park development. I think you're all familiar. The governor made an announcement yesterday at Belmont. It was very exciting. This project takes a lot of work to get to this point in time. So I want to recognize Holly Light and Tom Conoscenti and the ESD team, Simon Wynn and Laura Rogers and everyone in legal who helped. There's always more people involved in making this happen than I recognize. So for everyone who worked on this for a long time, I want to thank you and congratulate you for bringing this project to the point where it is getting a conditional designation, we hope. Tom, why don't you go ahead and introduce the item?
Sure. The directors are being asked to conditionally designate New York Arena Partners, LLC, or NIAP, a joint venture between Scott Malkin Group, Sterling Equities, Oakview Group, and Madison Square Garden as developer of up to 43 acres at Belmont Park. The proposed project and any contractual documentation remains subject to all public approval processes as required by law, including but not limited to further review and approval by the Franchise Oversight Board and the ESD directors. The conditional designation is the result of a thorough request for proposal process and a robust community engagement process. While the selection process and community engagement process are detailed in the board materials, I would like to take the opportunity to walk through the major points. For the RFP process, ESD issued the RFP in July of 2017, and responses were due in September of 2017. 3 proposals to the RFP were received, however, 1 team withdrew their submission. Staff held interviews with each team and asked written questions and answers. Staff held a draft term sheet round and a best and final offer round with respondents. The review comprised 5 technical committees covering real estate and economic impacts, finance, environmental review, planning and design, community benefit, and diversity practices, with 12 ESD staff members plus outside environmental consultants. In addition, there was a 4-person selection committee that was formed to score the proposals in accordance with the selection committee criteria in the RFP. The criteria in the RFP were development experience and financial strength, financial offer, overall project, project design and timing, diversity practices, and community benefit. As it relates to the community engagement process, ESD attended a community listening session hosted by local electeds prior to issuing the RFP. Staff briefed all of the local elected officials on the proposals, as well as the executive committee of the Long Island Regional Economic Development Council. State local elected officials held a public information session on the 2 proposals, where each team presented and answered questions from the community. ESD attended that session along with approximately 180 people. In addition, ESD has reviewed hundreds of public comments about development at Belmont. The selection committee scored the proposals based on the criteria in the RFP, and NIAP ranked the highest. NIAP is being conditionally designated to undertake a redevelopment plan for the site consistent with the RFP and their response to the RFP. The selected project terms include a 49-year lease with renewal options for a total of 99 years. The present value of payments in the lease is $40 million for the full build-out of the project. Commitment to construct a mixed-use entertainment complex on the site that includes an approximately 660,000 square foot arena with approximately 18,000 seats that will be home to the New York Islanders, 435,000 square feet of retail, dining, and entertainment space, 193,000 square foot hotel, and 10,000 square feet for offices as well as parking. Commitment to build and operate up to 10,000 square feet for community use and up to 305,000 square feet of open and/or recreational space. Commitment to construct the project as LEED version 3 gold or its equivalent. Commitment to achieve an overall goal of 30% for MWBE participation, as well as a 6% goal for service-disabled veteran-owned businesses. Commitment to pay prevailing wage during the construction. Commitment to pay all costs associated with the transaction, as well as an ESD administrative fee of 6.5% of the transaction. NIAP is committed in its proposal to working directly with the local community through a community advisory committee, which ESD will establish after conditional designation. Thank you, and we are available to answer any questions.
Okay, I'm going to ask for questions or comments from directors. I'm going to read a statement from the Islanders. The New York Arena partners are committed to working with the entire community that surrounds Belmont Park throughout the planning and construction of the project. We look forward to meeting with all the elected officials and other stakeholders from the area, and we will participate in the Community Advisory Committee set up through ESDC. We want this project to be a development that the entire community will be proud of and benefit from. Are there any questions or comments from directors? And then we're going to ask for any comment from the public. Yeah, Joyce.
I have 2 questions. One, was a marketing study done for this kind of use of this facility? And if so, who performed it? Was it done by the agency or was it done by the developer? And what were the results if there was such a study?
So ESD has not done a market study for this type of proposal. The developer in their submission had analyzed the hotel market, the retail market. They have not shared the full details of those studies, but their proposal is based on the information and the market conditions that they perceive.
The experience in doing this kind of development is not always there has not always been successful outcomes for this kind of development. It's based on optimistic market projections usually.
Yeah, again, their offer is based on the market studies and the information that they have prepared and submitted to ESD.
What's the investment, Tom?
It's a $1 billion investment.
By the development group.
Correct.
And our share?
It's private.
It's just the lease?
It's a 49-year lease with renewal options. It's anticipated that this would be it's a private investment with debt and equity.
So if there is a problem with the project itself and it doesn't work out for the developer, the ESD does not suffer a loss.
Correct.
We just have to find a new developer or a new project.
Correct.
Okay.
You said this was a conditional designation?
Correct.
Why conditional?
So designation, the formal designation doesn't happen until after all of the environmental review has been completed, and we have a general project plan to bring to the board.
And what was the community's response to this?
I mean, there's been positive, I think. I mean, we've gotten responses in all, in all buckets. There was a public meeting though, and I think that there was, support in all directions for this.
There was no strong opposition.
It's fair to say there's opposition.
Well, there's always some
Correct.
opposition. But I meant that there's no particularly strong opposition to this project.
I think it's an ongoing process. We're going to hear from one of the local officials shortly. This designation in our mind really starts a community process to work with the community to ensure that this is a benefit for everyone. Obviously the Islander fans are very supportive of this.
Right.
That's easy. I think we've gotten both very positive response from locals about new jobs and about economic revitalization. We also have concerns from people who live right near there and want to make sure that traffic is dealt with, that the train service is sufficient, security is sufficient, all totally valid concerns. And so we see this really as the beginning of a, at least a year-long process to work through the environmental review and to work with the community. And the team is totally on board knowing that this has to be a give and take with the community.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to hear from some people who have come to comment publicly on the public. Are there any other questions or comments from directors before we turn it over to, I think, Francisco? You're going to introduce any speakers that we have?
Yes, sir. Good morning, everyone. With us today, we have the Deputy Mayor of Floral Park, Mr. Patrick Fitzgerald. Sir? Kevin Fitzgerald.
Kevin
Sorry.
Fitzgerald. That's okay.
He's here today to speak on the future development at Belmont Park. Welcome and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
Good morning. I have a prepared statement, then I have one question on the statement that was read earlier. Thank you for the time. As Deputy Mayor of the Incorporated Village of Floral Park, which shares an extensive and century-old neighborly border with Belmont, I'd like to call to the attention of the board the letters that the village has submitted, which outline a significant number of concerns with the proposal of developments at Belmont Park that was announced yesterday that will affect the quality of life of our residents. When the RFP was first issued, we asked a number of questions specific to the RFP, to which most of them went answered by the ESD, and I thank you for that. However, prior to the listening session on December 10th, we submitted a letter with approximately 70-plus questions on a wide range of topics that are concerns to our residents. Unfortunately, at the December 10th session, the vast majority of went unanswered. At this point in time, I respectfully ask that our questions be answered so that Floral Park and the surrounding communities understand the impact of the proposal on our daily lives. As community involvement and concerns are part of the decision-making process, we would expect that these questions were and are considered and discussed prior to any decisions being made. In addition, we would like to continue to request that a master plan be developed to ensure that this proposal and any future developments at Belmont Park are complementary to each other, and most importantly, least impactful to the surrounding neighbors while providing the maximum benefits to all. Thank you for allowing these few moments to speak with you this morning. We look forward to hearing from the ESD and the developers to continue this vital dialogue. Additionally, I invite any board member, and Mr. Phillips, I think that you've already taken us up on this, or the developers for a guided tour of our great village, which my family, my fellow residents call home, so that you may better understand the concerns that we have. Separately, on the statement that was read earlier from the Islanders of New York Arena Partners, it said that the community that surrounds Belmont Park would be involved throughout the planning and construction of the project. I think it's also to understand that once the project's built and done, we need the involvement continuously for the 49-year lease, 99-year lease, to protect our residents and ensure that the way of life in Floral Park at least stays the same, or if not, is improved. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. Are there other comments from the public? Anyone else to address the board on this? Holly, do you want to talk at all again about how we engage with the community from this point, that this conditional designation is actually a starting point, not a concluding point?
Sure. So there's both a formal environmental review process, which we anticipate will be probably a year plus. I think we all know one of the big issues in that will be traffic and transportation. That certainly is the biggest issue we've heard from the community and from elected officials, and we know that that's something that's going to have to be studied. We're already engaged with LIRR and MTA to start conversations about that. We have not been able to talk to NYRA because of legislative prohibitions. We are going to start those conversations right after New Year's to make sure that that's well coordinated with their plans, which has been another thing that came up. So we will have the formal environmental process. We look to do the scoping hearing for that, to start that process in March. But previous to that, as was stated by Tom, we're going to start the Community Advisory Committee, which we typically do upon a conditional designation, not before that. We know that the community is eager for that, so we're going to look to start. Marion, Tom and I are already talking about starting that right after the holiday. So we look to have that set up and a meeting of that group prior to the scoping session. And we're also very eager to go out, as is the team, to meet with all of the individual stakeholders and elected officials, and including a tour of Floral Park. So we see parallel tracks of both an informal process of really just responding to anyone who requests meetings, as well as the formal environmental process that will start in March.
Okay. Other questions or comments from?
Just out of curiosity, is Floral Park the only community that will be affected?
No, in fact, Floral Park is kind of above where Belmont is. It's in Elmont, so Elmont, the village of Elmont and Hempstead will be.
Have we heard from the folks in Elmont?
Mm-hmm. So we've been working with them as well. There's a newly elected town manager mayor of Hempstead. She's been supportive so far, but I think everyone, and with reason, says this is just the beginning. Now we really need to engage, and I think part of this is now we actually have a team that can be held accountable. So these conversations about, what does the community need? What are the benefits they want to see? What are the jobs? That conversation now starts really, in a serious way now that we have the team. And we will hold their feet to the fire to make sure that happens.
I mean, I would say to the deputy mayor, we are eager as management at ESD, as staff, as board members to engage with the community and bring a very collaborative, successful project to completion that's for the benefit of the island and all the contiguous communities. So this really kicks off that process, and we're eager to engage in it. I think you have a sense of dealing with ESD, kind of the way we conduct ourselves, the spirit in which we move these projects forward. So, I know the agency looks forward to engaging further with the community.
And I very much appreciate that. And so far, Marion and Holly did great. Just want to point out that each community that surrounds Belmont Park has very unique concerns, each and unto itself. So I think it's important to engage all the communities together and also all the communities individually, because they each have individual concerns.
Great, definitely noted. Thank you for your participation. Is there a motion to, I'm sorry, more question?
Process, how long is it anticipated that this planning process will take?
I think the environmental review is probably 12 to 14, 16 months. We're gonna, try to keep that on track, but that's typically, and then within that, we'll be doing other outreach as well.
So it's at least another year and a half before we actually reach the time of
Right.
having to do a lease.
Yes. We'll come back for the kind of official designation, probably, we're figuring spring 19.
And we'll be kept apprised of the community reaction and concerns?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Happy to provide updates on that.
Howard, let me ask you, what is your own reaction to bringing the hockey team to Belmont Park?
I mean, look, you're talking about approximately 40 acres of underutilized parking lots on, Long Island, the border of Long Island and Queens. This has been discussed for a long time. How are we going to, utilize this underutilized asset that gets used for the Belmont Stakes once a year? You're talking about $1 billion investment, really a long-term lease, no public money that I can tell here of consequence. You've got a dynamic mixed-use project, and you've got an island that, for many people who are hockey enthusiasts on Long Island, I remember when the Islanders came in 1972. I even remember who their first captain was. So, it's you got an affinity for the Islanders. Have wanted a hockey team back on Long Island. It's not just a hockey team. It's a venue for events year round. It's a tremendous economic development engine. You're talking about 12,000 construction jobs and 3,000 permanent jobs. And there are, and we have to make sure it's good for the, not just economically, but in all the ways.
I remember when the old site was being considered to be renovated.
Yeah,
What
and
happened?
so you're talking about the Nassau Coliseum, and it has, had some renovation, but it is not any longer. And the NHL has made it very clear, explicitly clear, that Coliseum does not meet a standard for NHL hockey in this era. So they're building an arena that's about 18,000 people, a state-of-the-art arena, mixed use, retail, commercial. It's a massive project. I mean, it's $1 billion project, and I think it will. People obviously at the event were very excited to have their Islanders back where they belong. So, that's a good question, but is there a motion to approve? Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you all. May I have a motion to conduct an executive session pursuant to paragraph C, D, and F of Section 105 of the New York State Open Meetings Law, during which we will have an update on litigation and employment. Okay, great. I just want to note for the record that no votes were taken in executive session. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Thank you.
Second.
We are adjourned. Happy holidays, y'all.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas, safe travels.